Artemis launch 2019, and the theme of Women Hold Up Half the Sky. Yeah, I think a clap for that. This is our 4th year in partnership with Artemis Journal, and also we have a new element this year. So with our longtime collaborating partner, Southwest Virginia Ballet, which we do events with them here at the Tallman Museum of Art 2 to 3 times a year for 8 years. Now it is a combination and the integration of the arts with Artemis Journal, with the Tallman Museum of Art, and with the Southwest Virginia Ballet. So it's wonderful to have that happen here tonight as we celebrate poetry in motion. How many of you saw that wonderful article today in the Roanoke Times? Yeah. So really celebrating the arts here in our community. So thank you for coming out and sharing that with us. So Artemis Journal is now in 42 years old and celebrates the voices and visions of artists and writers from the Appalachian region of the Blue Ridge Mountains and beyond. Artemis started in 1977 as a special project of the Women's Resource and Service Center, at the time directed by editor and founder Jerry Rogers. And if you want to please stand up here, we want to recognize you. Maurice.
Once again, we have a generous offering. About 140 pages, 80 poems, and quite a few artists. So you'll have plenty to read. You know, the journals are outside in the lobby and are for sale. This year, we're blessed to once again have Natasha Trethewey, Pulitzer Prize winner, and Barack Obama's choice for the United States Poet Laureate, as well as Nikki Giovanni, who is 76 years old today, folks. Today is Nikki's birthday. And Nikki, we can't begin to tell you what she's meant to Artemis over the years. Con Smith, who's Virginia Poet Laureate before, Catherine Saunier, Catherine Al Mikan, Derek Canamere, and Llewellyn McKernan. We've added a poem, and I couldn't believe this, folks. We've added a poem by the great Mary Oliver. Her last book of essays, Upstream, get it, read it. It's as close to spirituality as you will ever become, okay? And we have the honor of having one of her poems in our journal this year, posthumously. In addition to these well-known poets and the memorial we're going to do to 3 poets, I'd like to say that with Artemis, things can be circular. In this year's Artemis, we have Vivian Teeter, Susan Hankel, Ann Falwell Stanford, and Ann Kate Sullivan. All were in Artemis back in the 70s. And you will find them in the Artemis this year as well. So, you know, who wasn't, I believe it was T.S. Eliot, it said, we end where we began. Don't let me misquote that guy. Also each year, we like to honor newcomers, people who we feel deserve publication in the journal and who have not appeared in the journal before. And these first timers for this year are Stephanie Stallings, Anna Toulouse-Orr, Angela Clevenger, Anita Faribault, and Evelyn Urquhart. If any of y'all are here, let's give them a round of applause. I see Jean Larson up there. She recently retired. And I don't know what we will do with her at retirement. But she deserves a round of applause too. Because Penelope Speaks. It's Homer from a female perspective. Read the book. It's destined to be a classic. Yeah, and we're always on the lookout for well-written traditional verse. This year we got an acrostic poem from a Texas poet named Carolyn Gutierrez Abreu. And it's called acrostic poem. And starting at the first line and reading the first letter in that line and going down, it will spell, women hold up half the sky. The moment that came to us, we said, we need to put that in the journal. So there was our theme, and the girl from Texas put it in an acrostic poem. And sometimes I feel like saying, wow. And a couple of poets, Richard Rose, beautiful sonnet. Jane Blanchard always sends us sonnets and well-written odes. And Adrena Zawinski sent us a wonderful pantoum called Ravensbrook Pantoum. And during these contentious times, I'd like to thank Jack Greer from Charlottesville, because he sent us a poem called Flowers for Heather Hyder. And Heather died standing up to domestic terrorism in Charlottesville. She gave her life standing up against that. And so he called his poem Flowers for Heather Hyder. So I don't know that Chuck Greer maybe made the trip down from Charlottesville, but thank you, Mr. Greer. It's a great poem, and we needed to put it in our journal. And two of the newcomers who have already mentioned, you got to always have some protest poems, especially if you got a feminist theme. And Anna Tallur sent us a poem called Women Marching. Perfect. And my advice would be, women, keep on marching, and you men might want to join them. That's right. And Stephanie Stallings, for April poem, was a protest poem against that Mountain Valley pipeline. And if y'all follow the articles in the paper, Red Terry and her daughter, they held up in those tree stands for a long time, folks. A long time. And so we needed that too. And finally I'll say this, and then I'll shut up. Our journal is different because it blends the art with the poetry throughout. There's no insert in the middle of Artemis where the art's back in there. In fact, sometimes, not always, but sometimes, we will find the art and it relates to a poem. And we'll try to put those on the same page together, because you can look at the painting or the photography and see that, you know, thematically it's similar to the poem. And finally, a big thanks to Dogman, the poets and artists, the performers, and all of you people that came out in this fierce rainstorm that we're getting, because you are the folks that make us possible. Thank you.
Ask the goddess for music, and she will laugh, but it will be a song. I'm James Brochard, a sometime poet, a full-time geezer, from which condition I get my inspiration. Here's a poem based on a youthful experience of mine. I hope you'll recognize some element in it that may remind you of your own time gone past. We should seize these moments, pass them on. Here then is sugar bread. The flatness of my words has been transformed into three-dimensional vividness by dancer Olivia Scott. Please watch and listen. Aunt Bessie pulls each loaf from the oven, thumps it to be sure, and stacks it to cool while we kids pick out wax beans out back. Just baked bread on the wide windowsill fills the air with yeasty lure until we lift our heads and wrinkle our noses like startled cows. When she taps the bell, we stash our baskets and dash for the porch, jostle and push to share the well pump, sluice our hot hands, arms, faces. We wipe with a loop of worn cotton toweling hung from a roller and nearly touching the floor so even the littlest cousin can blot and dab. Bessie saws thick slices with a fine-toothed blade and slides warm bread onto a big flat platter while we line up at the kitchen screen door. She slathers each piece with fresh churned butter, then blizzards a scoop of pure white sugar to fall like snowdrifts across those soft yellow fields. Each pair of hands must pass her inspection before she dispenses the sweet sugar bread slabs. We sit on the edge of the porch and still our chatter, gob up our lips and chins, fill our kid bellies. Too soon empty-handed, we lick sticky fingers, gulp cool water, straggle back to work the rows. Thank you.
Song of the Grail Maiden is dedicated to Dendrana, the first woman to achieve the Holy Grail. And it's danced by the beautiful, is she here? The beautiful Anna Lemon.
And I flew in yesterday from Naples, Florida. I've lived there the past 6 years, and I used to live here in Roanoke. I was at that time the senior minister at Unity of Roanoke Valley for 13 years, almost 13 years. And I left in 2010. But I didn't just leave straight away. I had kind of a messy ending to my being here. A time when I felt particularly lost and didn't quite know where to be and what to do. And Jerry Rogers and her husband Jonathan took me in, and a couple, Amelia and Lynn, in Salem, so that I could continue work before I left the area. I would watch for signs when I was up in the mountains in Floyd and Blue Ridge Mountains. I'd watch for signs of the divine. Something that would say that I was okay, that things are going to be okay. And I remember going down to the river. There's a river that runs through that area called the Little River, and I would often see a huge great blue heron. And I took that as a sign because I was willing to take anything as a sign that things were okay at the time. But I would see this bird and its magnificent wingspan and feel like I could be embraced in its pinions and that eventually I'd find my way. So this poem that I wrote is called As If to Say. And it's based on an experience I had one very chilly day as I walked not down to the river, but up onto a hillside above their house, and had an experience that helped me remember who I was and who I am. And this is going to be a dance today brought to life, really, by the beautiful dancer with Southwest Virginia Ballet named Simone Ayers. As if to say, just ahead of me, on the left hillside in sun, stood a tall, great blue heron, nowhere near water. I watched in mirrored silence until its beak nodded slightly to the right, acknowledging my presence. We spoke of many things, of being my totem, a sign of prophecy's grace, its size, my gratitude. Finally, I walked beyond, turning to pay attention, returning, believably, there it was, still before me. Feathers unfurled into the cold, pinions lifted, arms wide, as if to say, I'm here for you, come what may.
Good evening. I hope y'all enjoying the poetry tonight. It's absolutely beautiful so far. A little bit about me. I was born and raised in Roanoke, Virginia. I work for Roanoke City Libraries. I do workshops at most of the middle schools and elementary schools around Roanoke. And I wrote this poem, Granny's Garden, reflecting on my mom and her mother, and the grandmother I never got to meet. And also reflecting on getting to know that grandmother through her love passed down through my mom. And dancing, beautiful dancing with me today, Emma Cleveland. Thank you. Granny's Garden. She was born January 30th, 1991, shy of 3 months premature. My mother lay dormant and confined. She was not supposed to labor a second child. Flowers grow during spring, but here we are. Seeds of seeds buried deep in Granny's garden, offsprings of all the faith Granny mustered, prayers whispered into night's air, mother and child. Are songs Granny sings when all she can bear has come and went. 27 years later, she spends entirely too much money on cat socks. She loses things, a trait of her mother. She loses keys just as quick as confidence. Her imagination, for fear of blinking, tracks of time are suspended just like most as sunsets, and we must find our way back home to attend flower beds which attend to our rest before earth opens beneath our trot and swallows us whole for no other reason than but because she can. Mother and child, both quiet, but always felt like they had something to say. She forgets what she is doing, where she is going, literally and figuratively. She forgets to relax, to feel, to see, to breathe, and to let go. To not bottle up most sincere emotions, to not resort to cheap defense mechanisms, to castle herself within their deep, their damp and hollow grounds. To not stain glass the windows of every place called home. She forgets not to build, to show up on time for questions which the grounds of gardens are desperately welling out for. She gets sidetracked. Shame thrives on memories I forget to forget. And she walks really fast, like really, really fast, like really, really fast, so fast you must grab a hold to my hand to slow me down. And when you do, your smile touches me like when does the day. In those few moments wrinkled in time, the world stops, the world stops, the world stops, and maybe it's still spiraling, and we are still spiraling and rotating, and everyone and everything is at early morning in need of her bifocals. We can barely make out the buildings, and the only thing that is clear is that love is a musk which grows distinctly and rejects a soil not rich enough for her love. And whoever this inside of this soul advising me to run, not to stay too long, that this is bad, that I am never the one wears a loud scent of death, the type which echoes around one's soul over and over again like trains skipping tracks, friction piercing hearts. I am not afraid of love. I am afraid of unexpectedly bleeding out in the process. But while the world is slowly spiraling and rotating around us, love, I feel you, granny, mother, and all the women I have ever loved. Because of you, we stretch forth like sun, arms pedaling towards the scent of love's musk in the wind, assured if it all suddenly stops, we should leap, for we do not have to watch where we land. In every life bears gardens, no matter the physical season we are in. And in times of need, as the world suggests flowers only grow in spring, we remember that we are the travail of Granny's seed, the flower which wasn't supposed to live. My mother and I are nothing short of psalms and prayers once sung to the grounds, that in love we wear it like a musk. And with you, the world stops, and I do not have to watch where I land, that in Granny's garden, we are her song, with lyrics not fit for everyone, for every tongue or voice to carry, not for everyone to love, but in Granny's garden, you are the song. You are always, always the song.
Wow.
This is just wonderful. I can't begin to tell you. The dancers are so inspiring, and to create a collaboration with young dancers. There's a saying that if you want to go far, you go by yourself, but if you want to go farther, go with your friends. And we are so honored to be again here in the Taubman Museum and to be collaborating with their generous support and the Roanoke Arts Commission, who has funded us through the years. And now to join up with the Southwest Virginia Ballet. He worked so hard with these dancers to create a beautiful evening, and we are honored to have them here. Thank you so much. I'm Jerry Rogers. There's a lot of great old friends here. I mean, through Artemis years, and you know, Jean Larson, Judy Yildiz, and Betty Branch, and I mean, if I start trying to name everybody, it'll be like the Academy Awards. They'll have to pull me off the stage. But we are so thrilled to have everyone here. And this particular poem is by a very dear friend of mine, actually the first friend I made when I moved down to Roanoke from New York City, and I was a bit fish out of water. And my first best friends were Gwen and Bill Cates. And Gwen invited me to a consciousness raising group at her farmhouse. And I went, and I just, you know, loved her and got to know Bill and loved him. And then I saw them have their children, so we all just grew up together, and I had my children, my husband joined in, and you know, so it was just a great friendship. And I can go on about Bill. Bill was such a talented man. He passed away last year, and greatly missed by all of us. And as his daughter, Ann Kate Sullivan, was cleaning out his desk after he passed, she came upon this poem that he wrote right before he passed. And she contacted me and sent it to me, and Maurice and I just said, we have to have that in here. And Bill had been involved in Artemis for years as a writer and a photographer. So this particular poem is a found poem, but I feel like Bill is with us, and he would be so honored to have 4 beautiful young women dancing in his honor, because he loved women. So we'll have the whole ballet company join us for this final poem. When I get back, I crawled into my bed last night. An old man's legs followed me. We disappeared under the covers, and I turned out the lights and stared at the late hour on the clock. While in the stillness, I listened to my heart beating against the minutes. Through the window by my bed, I stared at the night thinking how few falling stars there are to catch. But in the next life, when I get back, I want to be a big winged bird, so I can catch up drafts and circle endlessly with scarcely a beat of my endless wings. By William Cates. Thanks again to the Talman. We are all nonprofits, all 3 organizations, and we couldn't do it without your support. So thank you for supporting us, coming to our program and buying our books, and giving the artists and writers, the juice they need to keep going. So thank you for coming out. Good night.